To overcome this chronic illness, you have to change your narrative about it, okay? The things that happened in the past, they can't just be bad luck. It can't just be trauma. It can't just be things that worked against you. You have to be able to include these things, these traumas in the past, in your narrative and be able to tell yourself a new story where these things benefited you somehow, where the illness, the trauma, it led to something greater in your life that now you're proud to have and you're grateful to have. And without these things, without this illness, without this trauma, without this difficult event in childhood, it wouldn't have forced you into a situation where you had to change and you had to go ahead and become the best version of yourself. And that's what this illness is. You know, the reality is these illnesses, these challenges, this adversity in our life, they're meant to put us in a place where we're forced to change. And when we're forced to change, good things happen. At the time when you're forced to change, it feels really challenging. And it feels like there's these thought loops and these overwhelming emotions. And you don't know necessarily what to do because it's just uncomfortable to change. But the reality is you can't get to where you want to get without changing what you're doing. It's not simply going to be about taking the next supplement or finding the next doctor who's going to give you the next pill. It's about identifying what you're doing, what you're thinking, where you're living, you know, what you're perceiving, how you're behaving, and how all these things affect how you're feeling, right? What I do with clients is very different than most people. It is we're observing how what we're doing is affecting everything we're doing, everything we're feeling, you know, what we're eating, what we're inhaling, what we're thinking, what we're perceiving, the threats that we're perceiving in our day, you know, our sense of danger, you know, the mental overload that comes with focusing on things for too long and focusing on things that are outside of our control. So the reality is here, you got to be able to change your narrative. You got to change the narrative. If you don't change the narrative, you'll be stuck in the same narrative where things don't end up working out for you in the end. And that will lead you to make choices that feed right back into the same circumstances. You have to understand the law of attraction. You got to understand metaphysics when you're trying to get over these illnesses. You can't simply just say, oh, you know, things are working against me. I lost everything I have. There's nothing that I enjoy in my life anymore. And once I get better, I'll be happy again, right? That's the common statements I hear from everybody. And the reality is you have to make the decision to find joy in your life and happiness before you get better. You can't just simply expect to be able to get better and then start to live life again. You got to start to live life before you get better. That'll help you get better. By living life again, you start to focus on life rather than the illness. And that allows you to start healing. You can't heal when your body is focused on being sick. It doesn't work that way. Paying attention to the fact that you are sick prevents your body from healing. It interrupts the process of healing. The only time that you can heal is when you're not focused on it, when you're focused on something you enjoy, when you're sleeping, when you're doing things that don't remind you of the illness. Simply by reminding yourself of the illness, you are preventing the cellular healing from occurring because your mind is what controls your body. So if you're telling yourself, hey, I'm never going to get better, you know, these things will always be this way, I'm broken, this medication damaged me, etc., then your brain is going to be feeling threatened in an unsafe place. And it's going to feel as if there's constantly threats now around it because you're telling your brain, you're telling your body that it's going to be this way forever. Imagine what your brain feels. It's overwhelmed. It can't handle it. So you have to be able to change the narrative to be able to slow down the story, the conversations, the thoughts, remove some of that pressure from your brain and your body. And the narrative, you don't have to believe it 100% at first. You just got to change it, you know, from, hey, I'm sick, I got this condition, I'm gonna be sick the rest of my life too. There's something that's causing this. I will figure out what's causing this. The symptom is a response. It's not because of a condition. The conditions are just made up. They're just words that people made up. They're words that people made up to group symptoms together so they could categorize them. It is not simply some condition you got to beat, you know. These are things that are absolutely critical when you're talking about changing your narrative. You go from that narrative to one that supports healing. Well, it's just a matter of time. I'm closer than I've ever been. I'm paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm paying attention to where I'm living. I'm paying attention to what I'm thinking. I'm making changes daily. Every day I'm getting closer, and you're inching closer and closer towards what you want. You're not looking for the home run on the first pitch, you know. You're trying to inch closer and closer towards what you want. You're healing, you know, and that happens from making everyday decisions that promote healing. And guess what? You can't make those decisions consistently if your narrative ends, your story ends in dismay, or it ends in a place where you don't heal. There's no point to make the decisions. There's no point to try to go ahead and eat right. There's no point to change the house you're living in that has mold. There's no point to change the way you're thinking if you believe your condition is always going to be that way and that it's out of your control. So your narrative has to switch to, this is inevitable, it's a matter of time, this is within my control, I can make changes in my life, my diet, my environment, my thinking. All these things will affect the way I feel, and that supplements are not the answer, that, you know, medication's not the answer. Yeah, there'll be a time for supplements, but not until you focus on all the things that are within your control. Focus on things outside your control and dwell on those things. Guess what? You'll be paralyzed, you'll remain sick, and you will feel unwell. Focus on the things that you can change, the things that are within your control, and then go ahead and change your narrative from, hey, this is an illness, it's out of my control, to all these things are within my control. I just need to make the right decisions consistently and be thinking the right thoughts consistently, and it'll come together and I'll be healed. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I offer people a 30-minute free consultation to go over their particular condition, how I would approach it. You could also go to my website, endsickness.org. I have hundreds of videos, hundreds of articles on there to help you overcome whatever you're dealing with there. And I have a very, very different approach. I focus on mast cells as the origin of all these chronic illnesses. And we got to figure out why these mast cells are being aggravated. If we don't, we'll be stuck in a cycle that's just ongoing. So thanks for watching, everybody. And I hope to see you again in another video soon.